well, we'll do this. I'm going to do a comparison at the end. We got about 5 or 6 charts to look at. Mm-hmm. Then I didn't have two people, a good example of two people, southern and northern hemisphere, to compare. So I took the Vatican chart and Pope Francis chart, and we'll compare the two charts, how they each influence each other. Mm-hmm. And that will give us a northern hemisphere chart and a southern hemisphere chart in something that we're not knowing, we can still speculate or look at or wonder about it, and it's contemporary.
So it doesn't negate in your experience, in your basically...
Well, let's just say, what sign are you?
Taurus.
Taurus, okay. So you're Taurus Scorpio. If you think, well, I'm Taurus Scorpio, I'm Taurus, but my other side is Scorpio. We almost have a relationship to the opposite sign in any case. But we do, in ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's like twins, we have both sides. We're just accentuating the hemisphere we're in. That's our predominant, dominant twin. And the other is a little bit more sublimated there. But if we're a northern hemisphere person, we still have a southern hemisphere chart. And our southern hemisphere chart would be how we affect someone in the southern hemisphere. We'll do this. So, this, it's a flippy twin thing. So yes?
Does it make sense? I read somewhere one time that whatever our opposite sign is, which would be southern or northern, whichever way, is what we're supposed to be strive to become that way?
No, you are the season you're born. You're born in the season, the day, the season, the time of day, the season of the year, and the phase of the moon that you're born in. The traditional 3 basics of astrology, as long as there's been astrology. The time of day, time of year, phase of the moon, yep.
So, what do you do with someone who's born on the equator?
Yeah. On the equator. Had someone about 10 minutes from. Yeah. Well,
somebody had that.
But most of the equator systems jump to the zodiac goes right overhead, and most of them use the sidereal system on the equator. However, when I actually measured it and took 5 degrees north of the equator, 4 degrees north of the equator, as the sun goes north, where we have the hours of daylight changing, like in the summer, they have minutes changing. It still follows the same pattern, but it only happens a minute or 2. It increases and decreases. So, like the equator, like a tornado that can't go across the thing, I still divide the equator. Some born right on it. It's impossible. There's no such line. You just divide it close. It's one way or the other. It's going to be all on one side or the other. And this is what Barbara was saying, because she's from Sri Lanka, and she said she can relate to a lot of the southern hemisphere qualities in her chart, even though she's born in the northern hemisphere. But that's down about 12 degrees or 15 degrees, right? 6. Yeah, 6 degrees. So that's pretty close. But so yeah, there could be there. You see stars from both hemispheres. You see all the stars. Mm-hmm. Nowhere else. So it's quite interesting. Like all of these are puzzles. I'm not saying this is how I've come. 45 years working at this, playing around with it. This is where I ended up. And I puzzled it. I fought it. I tried not to do it, and then I end up keep coming back around it. So, but my main point in this is just looking at this chart, like the 12th house Gemini, I don't fit in here, I don't belong here. Why should I listen to anybody else? They're not thinking for me anyways. I'm going to think my own thing. It's in my own pocket. I'm going to go my own way. That's a very simple thing. The moon in Libra, in the 4th house, I live for my mom, or I want to be appreciated, I want to be nurtured, I want to be nice, I want to talk to people, I want to share ideas. It's a very feminine quality, that sharing ideas, the Venus rulership. The Venus rulership of that ties of the moon, as opposed to the Mars rulership of the moon, northern hemisphere moons in Aries. I had to do it. As opposed to, I just wanted to do it. I kept seeing it. If I kept seeing the dream, why wouldn't I go for it? It's not a big, profound jump to see how someone could idealize femininity and identify to it to the degree that what am I doing in a man's body?
Do you know enough about her experience, like her biography, to know whether that really was her experience, or are you speculating? Because
no, I don't know. I remember I remember
get very desperate and.
No, I remember this was really radical when it happened. And it was really controversial and radical, and there was a lot of challenges of how could you do it? Should we do it? We're not allowed to do it, or whatever.
What year was that?
This was born in '62. When I don't remember. I don't have the. I don't.
In the 80s or something.
Yeah, it was in the '80s.
Yeah.
But it was still controversial. But look, that Sun Mercury, it's going to, whether it's in Sag or that, it's still squared by Pluto and Uranus. I don't fit in. It's still squared by Jupiter. No one's going to understand. Jupiter's opposed Pluto and Uranus. Why should I follow anyone else's understanding? It has that anyways. With either one. The difference being the socially team-spirited Sagittarius that's in touch with everyone and the implications of everyone could get so profoundly affected by everybody's opinion on something. It's not as likely to cut through it as a Gemini who's just thinking, no, I'll just do it. I can do that. Let the chips fall where they may. They're listening to me anyways. No, it was just something relaxed. When I was working with it, I just chose I went and looked at a whole bunch of Southern Hemisphere charts. I said, which ones do I want to work with? I said, okay. I went through this. So, like Paul Hogan, I liked his chart because it's, the crocodile, the Libra was the Aries. It was a very dramatic point of it. But then Germaine Greer's was interesting. I didn't know enough about it to really work it. But the Leo with the Scorpio moon seemed to make sense for the pieces that I knew about. The anger, the fighting against the system, not being judged and not messing with her. Then the Pope. Then this, we just got a lot of different takes. So, but this was an interesting puzzle. It was it took it out of severe judgment to just, he acted on his fantasy. He went for his dream. And a Venus in Taurus is going to go for what they want, even if Neptune's there. And a Gemini is likely to buy it more than anyone else. Why not? I can do this. This is what I want. If you think about it for long enough, actions will follow those thoughts. Not so much the implication of what anybody else says. Who cares what anyone else says? What do I want? So, it's simple. Those are my little insights from coming in and working the charts and getting to it. And, I spent a fair amount of time preparing the charts and getting things ready, but I can't say I've spent 10 hours on this chart. Like in terms of trying to interpret or navigate down. I've thought out I was looking at the main reversal of signs and rulerships, essentially, to show it. But in this, the trying to be more free and more independent, I want to be more me, is a Gemini theme. I want to be more belonging, is a Sagittarius theme. I want to be in touch with it as a Sagittarius theme. When not, I'm doing my own thing. And blatant statements like that. So that's where the Gemini would cut through the procrastination of the Sag. And the Mercury, if you're thinking it, why not? Actions, the mind and the thoughts and the values. In all of us, our emotions seduce our mind, and then we do things. And so, but for this, it just made it turned into a simple person. It just went, I had the dream. Why wouldn't you? If you had a woman who's Sun and Moon in Sun and Venus in Capricorn, and the Moon in Aries, and a Virgo rising, she might want to be a mountain climber. And but if it was from the Southern Hemisphere, it would have been a Cancer. With different. We're only looking at a sign, not at the houses. Most of our interpretation is in this house. It's above. It's touching the midheaven. It's these aspects going on. So most of us, a big chunk of our interpretation is right there, not touching the signs. How much we actually use the rulerships and extend into it as a validation. Well, to me, I've come to respect the rulerships more and more. The rulerships were the guiding energies. It's like we had the heavens above, the earth below, and we're in between it, and so are the planets. But the planets are higher than us, and they're the gods that represent how to live higher. And if we can live like that, we elevate our natures. So we're trying to emulate the gods, or live better. This is basic astrology. But the rulerships are set to be able to, they're the guides. The Jupiter ruling Sag, right understanding, right beliefs for Pisces, the Mercury ruling Gemini, good thinking, right discrimination for Virgo, the Moon ruling Cancer. These are set there as guidelines. If you're a Cancer and you don't take care of your feelings, what are you doing? If you're a Gemini and you're not thinking for yourself, who are you going to think for? Who's going to think for you? There's certain things that are just essential about the sign and the rulership. that's been passed on from tradition, that's always been there, that that to me has been really strongly reinforced by this exercise. So, if nothing else, just to reflect and consider, just, well, think of the option, think of the alternative. It's hard to double think a chart. It's a lot of factors just to hold one chart together, double think it, do the other. I just have to do one, work one, then I work the other, and I look at it. But I now have it defined where I'll work with a Southern Hemisphere chart. But if someone's relating to a Northern Hemisphere person, you have to do that Northern Hemisphere chart to compare it to the Northern Hemisphere chart. You have to use your Southern Hemisphere chart to compare to how you're going to affect the Southern Hemisphere person.
That's 4 charts instead of 2.
Yeah, that's 4 instead of 2.
They should charge double.
I had a couple of families who had kids on both sides of the border, on both sides of the equator. One in Australia, one up north, and just, okay, let's do it. They're all in the same family. But then in the same family, you're going to have some kids with the Pluto in Sag and some with the Pluto in Gemini. Oh. Okay, so it's on that level, that outer planet energy that gets a little bit different.
Complicated family.
Where you feel where the system is, where things are. There's a different attitude to it from it.